Hello dear students, welcome to another unit in EVS, and having learned about plant life and animal life, today we are going to take a look at the beautiful earth that we live in. We have so many planets, but earth is the most beautiful one with the vibrant colors, and of course there is life on earth. So today let's take a look at the first term that we need to know in order to learn a little bit more about earth. So the first term is called a globe. Globe is the model of the earth. It is the model of the earth. So scientists and researchers have made this model so we can learn the earth better, learn the earth more closely, and also understand the sizes, shapes, landforms of various regions and the water bodies. So for these reasons, a model of the earth is globe, which is very useful to us. Now, to understand the globe, there are a lot of things that you can see on the globe. If you look at your screens now, you can see the globe and you can see vibrant colors, as I mentioned. The blues, the greens, the browns and other colors. But you might notice that the blue is the most prominent color. Let's see what the blue color is. Of course, the blue represents water. Okay, the blue always reminds us of water. And have you noticed how much percentage of the earth is water? Wow. So we have a water for all the life on earth. Okay, so what form is the water in? The largest water body that you can find on earth are the oceans. Okay, so there are 5 oceans on the earth. That is huge water bodies. 5 oceans are there. So let's see what they are. Number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The first one is Arctic Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Southern Ocean, and Indian Ocean. These are the 5 oceans: Arctic, Atlantic, Pacific, Southern and Indian Ocean. Okay, so if in case you are not able to quickly remember the names, we can always make shortcuts to learn. Shortcuts is not bad things. Okay, they are things that help us to remember. So in this case, we can make a acronym. Okay, PAISA. So because we are in India, we know what a paisa is. So this is how I study. You can please have your own ways of studying, your own acronyms. Okay, this way. First one is Pacific Ocean. Okay, then is Atlantic Ocean. Then is Indian Ocean. Okay. Then is Southern Ocean. And Arctic Ocean. So these are the 5 oceans and we put it in a way that we can quickly remember. Oceans are 5 in number. We also have seas. So seas are located where the oceans come in contact with the land. Where the oceans meet the land, that location are the seas. Okay, now again we have 5 seas. Okay, so Black Sea. Okay, here we can do ABC. Okay, Arabian Sea. So I said the ABC is like an acronym or a method to learn and remember. Arabian Sea, Black Sea, then Bay of Bengal, Sea, Caspian Sea, and Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so these are the 5 seas. Alright, so just for ease I put it as ABC, Arabian Sea, Black Sea and Bay of Bengal Sea, Caspian Sea and Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so now we have understood what is the blue color. Let's move on to the other colors. That is, the next one is, you can see on the globe on the screen, there are green and brown areas. Those colors are used to denote land. Those are used to denote land. So several such lands join together, okay, make a huge continent, and like that we have 7 continents. We have 7 continents, okay. Huge landforms joined together are called as continents, and we have 7 continents, okay. So can we see what they are? I'm sure you've heard about it, you might know it already. Let's review and learn some more. The first one is Asia, second one is Africa, third one is Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica, and Australia. Okay, these are the 7 continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica, and Australia. Okay, Asia is the largest continent. Asia is the largest continent. It has the most amount of population and it has about 50 countries. Okay, then Antarctica is the least populated, right? Or at the bottom is Antarctica, and it has least population. Okay, and Australia is the smallest continent, and it is the most remotest continent also, you can say. It's, as you can see on the screen, it is far away from other continents. Okay, so we have learnt about the oceans, seas and continents. Now let's learn a little bit more. Okay, and India, our country, is in Asia continent, the continent of Asia. Okay, and India is also a peninsula. Okay, peninsula is maybe a new word to you. It is a country that is surrounded, a land form which is surrounded by oceans or water, is called as a peninsula. On 3 sides it will be surrounded by water bodies. That is why it's called a peninsula. So India is a peninsula, and India is surrounded by 2 seas and 1 ocean. 2 seas and 1 ocean. That is the Indian Ocean. Okay. Then it is surrounded by the Bay of Bengal Sea. Okay, and Arabian Sea. Okay, so 2 seas and 1 ocean surrounds India, and India is also called a peninsula. Okay, now for us to learn the globe a little bit more, we will look at imaginary lines. Okay, so we will learn about 3 main imaginary lines first, and then we will learn the rest. So the first one is Earth's axis. Okay, always remember it's imaginary lines. So if this is the Earth, okay, these are the 2 poles, North Pole and South Pole. Okay, so there can be the scientists and the researchers imagine a imaginary line that starts from the north and ends at the south pole, and that is considered as the Earth's axis. That is considered as the Earth's axis. Okay, imaginary line that runs from the north to the south. The next imaginary line that we will learn is called as an equator. Okay, the second imaginary line is equator. Now, equator is exact half, that is, it's midway between the north pole and the south pole. Midway means where? Somewhere in the center. Okay, so this is the equator. This is the equator. The equator is the broadest part of the earth. Okay, that is a place where the equator is situated, and this equator helps to for our imagination and for learning and research to divide the earth into northern hemisphere, the top part, okay, the northern hemisphere, and the bottom part, southern hemisphere. Okay, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. So that is what we have learned about imaginary lines. Okay, then there are more imaginary lines. Okay, let's take a look. There, just like equator, okay, there are more imaginary or parallel lines. Okay, parallel lines that the scientists draw to learn better about the earth. So that is called as parallels or latitudes. Parallels or latitudes. Then, okay, so you have parallel lines or latitudes above the equator, and you have parallel lines or latitudes or parallel lines below the equator, that is towards the southern hemisphere. So we have both sides. Okay, then we will learn about them in just a minute in detail. Next, we have another set of imaginary lines called as longitudes. Okay, now longitudes start from the north and end at the south. Okay, start from the north and end at the south. Starting from the north and ending at the south. All right. So these are all imaginary lines, and the purpose of them is for us to understand the earth better and to locate the countries and different regions. Okay, so you understood this? Okay. So as you can see, this is not there in your textbook, but for us to understand better what is a latitude and what is a longitude, we have made a simple comparison table. I hope you understand much from this table. So, latitudes and longitudes are imaginary lines. Okay, so let's first take a look at latitudes. Latitudes are also called as parallels because of their shape or because of how they are. They are parallel to the equator. They are parallel lines that run all across the globe, just like parallel to the equator. So lines parallel to the equator. So they are called as latitudes or parallels. Then second characteristic is they are complete circles. They are complete circles. The next characteristic is equator is the longest latitude. As you can see in this is the equator midway. Remember we said midway between the North Pole and the South Pole. The mid is here. This is the equator. And it is mentioned, the symbol is 0 degree. The other latitudes become smaller. So we studied that there are lines all the way to the northern hemisphere and all the way to the southern hemisphere. They are they are circles, complete circles. Okay. So each of these circles becomes smaller and smaller as they go towards the poles. They go towards the North Pole and the South Pole. And when they reach at the poles, latitudes are not circles, just points, rather just points. So when they reach the North Pole and the South Pole, the circle is reduced to a single point. Okay, the circle is reduced to a single point because it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay, how many latitudes are there? We have 180 latitudes in total. All the way from here till from the North Pole to the South Pole, all the lines together are 180. Now 90 to the north of the equator, that is above the equator till the North Pole we have 90 lines or 90 latitudes, and below the equator up to South Pole we have another 90 latitudes. So they make, yes, 180 in total. Now latitudes closer to the equator are 10 degrees south or north, then 20 degrees south or north, then 30 degrees south or north, and so on. So what does that mean? Let's see. This is the equator, as we said. These will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and when it reaches the North Pole, it will be 90. Okay, similar way down to the southern hemisphere, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. The last line would be, or the latitude would be 90. So, if they are in the southern hemisphere, we write it as 90 S, 90 degree south, and if it is north, we write it as 90 degree north. Okay, then at the poles, it is 90 degree north and 90 degree south, what we just learned. Okay, then now we know what is latitude. Let's compare it and we'll see what is the compare and contrast. Okay, what are the differences? Longitudes. Longitudes are otherwise called as meridians. Longitudes are otherwise called as the meridians. So, as you can see, the lines connecting poles, okay, from the North Pole to the South Pole. So, both sides, okay, those are the longitudes or otherwise called as meridians. And unlike latitude, which is a complete circle, this is only a semicircle. What's the next characteristic? Longest longitude is prime meridian or Greenwich meridian, which is denoted as 0 degrees, and it's called as Greenwich because it passes the Greenwich in London. Okay, so this is the Greenwich meridian or 0 degree. Okay, all right. Then the next characteristic is they are not parallel, but they meet at the poles. Okay, and how many longitudes do we have? 360 longitudes. 360 longitudes. 180, that is 180 towards the east, and then 180 towards the west. Longitudes are 180 degree east and 180 degree west. But the 180 degree east longitude and 180 degree west longitude, when they meet together, that is only a common line. It's only a common line and we don't denote it as east or west. Okay. Now, I hope you understood all the differences between latitudes and longitudes. So now we've learned that equator is the most important or the longest latitude. Longest latitude. There are other latitudes that are important. What are they? Just above the equator towards the north. Okay, this is Tropic of Cancer. Okay, and then the next one is, the next important latitude is Arctic Circle, and then finally it's the North Pole. Similarly, below you will find the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, that's a special latitude, and the next one is Antarctic Circle, and then last is South Pole. So like we learned, this is 0 degree. Okay, the Tropic of Cancer, which is closer and it is in the north, so we denote it as 23.5 degree north. Then again, the Arctic Circle is in the north, so 66.5 degree north. That's how we write it. And North Pole is totally 90 degrees. Okay, 90 lines. It ends in the North Pole. Then the next 90 lines are here. So Tropic of Capricorn is, we write it as 23.5 degrees south, S. Then the Antarctic Circle is 66.5 degree south. Then the last one is, when it reaches here at the pole, It's a point. Remember we learnt it's just points and it is 90 degree south. Okay, so that is about all the latitudes which are special. Okay, next, longitudes. This Greenwich meridian, which goes from the North Pole to the South Pole, helps to divide the globe again, like the northern and the southern. It helps us to divide it into eastern and western hemisphere. Eastern and western hemisphere. Okay, so to the eastern side of this Greenwich meridian or the prime meridian, there are 180 lines, and to the left side, that is to the west, there are 180 lines. All together is 360 lines, and they start from the North Pole and end at the South Pole. Okay, meridians means midday sun. These meridians mean midday sun, and you know the cool factor is all places lying on a longitude. Okay, all the places lying on a particular longitude will have the noon at the same time. You already know that different parts of the world have different timelines, but when it is on the same longitude, those countries or those places on earth will have the noon time at the same time. Okay, now the last thing is, wherever as you can see, the prime meridian and the equator are meeting, there's a 90 degree. Okay, and when the other lines also come, we can always get a square. Those squares are called as grids. They really help us in locating any place on the earth. Okay, the place where the longitude and the latitude cut, that exact point, you will get a grid. Okay, let's see, where is India? India is in the northern hemisphere. It is in the northern hemisphere and it is towards the east. Okay, so let's look, for example, where is Delhi? We have to calculate all the longitudes that are passing over the country, and we can come to a conclusion that Delhi is 28 degree north and 77 degree east. Okay, we have to see where the lines are. Okay, and we come to that conclusion. So now you can take, for curiosity's sake and for learning's sake, you can check out other countries, what latitude and longitude they are. It's very, very useful tool for you to find any place on earth. Okay, then the coolest factor about equator is, if you live on the equator, you will experience the quickest rate of sunrise and sunset in the world, taking a matter of minutes. So imagine the people who are living in those countries, they get to see the sunset and sunrise in quick minutes. Okay, so that is what we have learned. Now, the people who are living in a region between the Tropic of Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. This has hot climate. Then beyond this is moderate climate. North Pole and South Pole has extreme harsh and cold climate. South Pole and North Pole have extreme harsh climate. This is moderate climate between the Antarctic Circle and the Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. This area, moderate temperatures. Then equator and Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, this whole area is very hot climate. So I hope you understood what we have learned today. Okay, we have learned about the globe. Okay, the globe helps us to learn better about the earth, and then we learned that the oceans, continents, okay, the seas, and then we learned about imaginary lines, latitudes and longitudes. There are 180 latitudes, 360 longitudes. The longest latitude is the equator and the longest longitude is the Greenwich meridian or the prime meridian. Then we learned about North Pole and South Pole. We learned about the temperatures. We learned about the latitudes that are special. Okay, and we learned that using the longitude and the latitude, how to find a area with the help of a grid. Okay, how to find any place on earth with the help of a grid. And always remember, when you write any of these longitudes, remember to use degree and the east or the west. And when it comes to latitudes, remember to use south or the north. Okay, and all the lines closer to the equator are starting from 10s and going on till 90. Okay, starting from 10s and going on till 90 here. The equator divides the globe into northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Prime meridian divides the earth into eastern hemisphere and western hemisphere. I hope today's learning was very useful to you, and today onwards you will start exploring any map that you see.